And we're live.
Okay. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us today. We are back after a week hiatus, um, a week of social distancing, a week of lockdown from the MB show with John. But again, not like typical John, the better John. Um,
Oh man.
so, guys, we had an NFL draft that went off pretty well. I made a mention that I think it was more entertaining than any WWE draft
Yep, that's
that
for
that
sure.
took place.
Maybe
Yeah,
except the first one.
yeah, except for the first one. Yeah, and they went a little bit hog wild there. In one of the last ones, whenever John Cena was drafted like 4 times, so that's
Yep.
when the gimmick was killed for me. But yeah, so we're just here to chat about wrestling and hopefully take your mind off of some things for about 30 minutes. That's our job, and we're happy to bring it to you guys. So um, let's get this going. Uh, John and Matt, what do you what's the number one thing that you've found here from WWE during this time, Matt?
In terms of news,
Yeah,
well, lately we had the rumor that the WWE is looking to sell to either Fox or ESPN, and this was brought up by who used to be Zap Coulter in the WWE, um, which I don't believe at all. I do believe possibly the rights to the network and rights of pay per view
I think
they
I
go,
think
but the
I
whole
think
company, that makes no sense to me.
I feel like with the pay per view rights, that's going to be a complete foregone conclusion there. Because I think prior to the whole pandemic, they were already really deep into talks with ESPN and the Fox. It's just a matter of like a when and not if you ask me there.
Yeah,
yeah. I think Vince McMahon. We've all have followed his life really since he's came into ours. And there's one thing that is never misconstrued is that he is a total egomaniac and he has the last say with everything.
Yep.
So I'm not sure if that's how his father was, and then it just kind of passed through. And by Shane sort of stepping off the reins and not continuing that line, and with Stephanie and Triple H doing their thing, I wouldn't put past Vince if I I think this man knows when he's going to die. I mean,
Um,
he's never going to die. What are you talking about?
um,
yeah,
I mean,
well,
like my whole thing is like I don't think he is selling, but I feel like there is probably no better time to than right now, just because with everything that's going on with the XFL, just everything from the Saudi deal. And I believe that this past week that they had that they had a like a like lawsuit filed against them from from some from some shareholders regarding the whole entire deal with the XFL, because I believe it was stated on the record that supposedly WWE never had any sort of like a of like like financial
correct. Investing.
connections.
Yeah,
So yes, so like it's just 2020 it has not been a very kind year
Yeah,
for the for the McMahons.
yeah, and I doubt he wants to sell because regardless of what's going on, WWE is obviously his baby.
yeah,
Like maybe if once down the line when Vince passes away, then you're gonna have all the rumors. But I think until then, he's been through worse, and just to give up now, just because the XFL is done and you're getting sued, like he's never been sued before, like he's not gonna give up. Like hell, he brought the XFL back again,
Mhm.
made his own company, and unfortunately, that football league is snake bit.
That is,
But
yeah,
like, I mean, he was sued by like the what was it, the federal government with steroids and all that,
right.
and a class action lawsuit. I guess it's not nothing to him. I mean,
And
it's
the
not.
WWF as well, the World
Yeah,
Wildlife
yeah.
Foundation.
I mean, all this stuff. I mean, what he's going through right now. I mean, it's no cakewalk, but I think he's been through worse. And I mean, the company is. I mean, Raw and SmackDown as a product has been down lately. Even before the
Yeah,
pandemic, and more now. But I don't see why they would sell
I think
to like Fox,
I
to
think
Fox of all people.
well, if Disney comes into the fold, and if they present a really good offer, I mean, I would be very surprised if Vince doesn't at least consider it. Um,
He probably
and
considers it, yeah.
and, and like honestly, I'm kind of hoping that it happens because I've said for the longest time Vince is a complete hindrance to the creative side of things.
right.
Just because like he's still so hands on, but like he's so
Correct.
out of touch with everything that is currently is going on. So I would not be mad if say Disney bought it and say like Triple H is in the Dana White role where he's just running everything
That's
Yeah,
from the
no,
ground
that's
you're
a
up.
right.
that's a lot.
Vince,
That's a lot of ifs though.
yeah, Vince does get in the way of his own interest, his own best interest, and that's where I wanted to touch on one of the replies here from Carl Anderson. No, not that Carl Anderson. Uh, he
Does
has
he have a hot
responded.
Asian wife?
He
Let
responded
us know.
to just stop changing the matches and let other people handle the booking, which is what you were saying, John and Matt. Is that
Yeah.
so many of our memories have come from some of the best writers to ever exist, and to his credit, Vince McMahon also, he had a lot of say in a lot of the big stars that are in the Hall of Fame and that we have grown to admire. But nowadays, just like anything, everybody loses their fastball. It happens quicker than others. If to draw this into an easy football comparison, if you remember when Peyton Manning first went to the Super Bowl with the Broncos, lighting it up, 50 touchdowns, just crushing it, and then they got destroyed by Seattle. And then whenever they go back, that defense carried him to the Super Bowl. He did not look at all the same, and that was Peyton Manning, somebody that we never thought could make that possible. So just to draw that comparison, you are able to be out of touch, and even the most, for some reason, unless you're Tom Brady somehow, but even the most spectacular people who've made all the right decisions, they will eventually lose that.
And then you see him last week during Triple H's ceremony. Like, I don't know if that was on purpose, but he just didn't sound. He was just sounded out of it, and not the same.
Well, yeah, that has been some of the stories backstage is like he's kind of he's senile at this age, and
I think he's just saying "F it" at this point.
yeah, well, like well, they
Screw
said
everything.
yeah, well, they said once the XFL went under, he just lost it at that point, and I think too from the creative side, it's just like there's just way too many cooks in the freaking kitchen as far as like they have what 30 or or like 40 riders or something
I
or
don't
something
know.
along those lines, just like when you just have just the overall lack of communication too, and like from from what I've seen from recently released wrestlers, that's been a really big problem. It's just like oftentimes when people are being signed, they have zero creative direction and whatnot, and they really don't exactly tell you anything, and that and it's a very frustrating thing to say the least here, you know.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. One of the smaller news pieces of the week was that Curtis Axel has been released. He has had quite the roller coaster.
He's still in the
I
Rumble.
That's correct. I think he did his best. It's never going to be easy to follow in the footsteps of Mr. Perfect, because that's just his gimmick, and that was, he was perfect in a lot of the things he did. And so, and with the character they also gave him, he did way more with less. And there are plenty of superstars that are still there who, in my opinion, haven't drawn a dime, haven't sold any merch. You could see the dedication that Curtis Axel put into his character, and that he actually, made a name for himself.
Yeah, I totally forgot he was still on the roster.
Right.
To be honest.
So, do you guys think that that we will see him again? I know that we've been bringing up AEW as a rival, as a competitor, to pick up some layoffs or some people that have been let go of the WWE. Would you like to see him there, or somewhere like a Power or like a New Japan, where maybe he can go work underground for a little bit, repackage himself, and then come back even bigger and better?
For me, the best place for him is probably NWA Power. To me, AEW, they cannot sign everybody, and even from this past week, Cody was kind of talking about that. Like, they're only are going to be certain guys who they feel that they have a like idea for, who they view as like some people who really fit in, and guys like him, Heath Slater, No Way Jose, I just don't think really fit, or really or are real priorities for them to sign. But if you're talking about, say, like Rusev, Deano, Purrazzo, I think would be a pretty good sign for the women's division, and also Tash and like Dawson of the revival. But I would probably pass on Curtis Axel if I was Cody.
And plus, I think Cody said he doesn't want it to be all friends wrestling.
Yep.
Or something like that. I mean, this
more specifically with
Zack Ryder.
With Zack Ryder.
I mean, there's places for him to go. I mean, I don't have a particular spot. I mean, I think depending on where you go, it just depends on your character and how you get yourself over and what they do. But yeah, Power will be good. I mean, anywhere would be good for him. To build back up. And could we see him in the company again? Obviously, possibly. But yeah, they weren't using him right now, like with him and Bo Dallas,
who I'm still surprised hasn't been cut yet. I'm very surprised.
Yeah, that is surprising.
Yeah, and maybe might still do it. Yeah, he had a little run initially. I think didn't he beat Triple H his first match? Yeah, I think he beat Triple H. I think that was.
Did he?
I believe he did.
Yeah,
he did beat Triple H.
Yeah, because didn't like him CM Punk parry Triple H for saying that he was going to be putting him over without exactly putting him over.
Something like that, because didn't Triple H have like this headache or something happened, distracted him and he won, but regardless he won, in my opinion.
It was a whole concussion sort of thing that they were going with, and like it was pretty dumb, and it didn't really do
I forget what happened after
anything for Axel.
and then
to transition into more news of sort of a negative of WWE. Well, let's just say negative news spreads faster than positive news. But I did want to touch on a tweet from Bill Gilman. There was a tweet sent out on the NB Show Twitter account to follow along on the show and tweet. You'll have your name read on the air. Has Vince McMahon lost his touch? And Bill said, "You misspelled mind." So that was a good little one-liner there from Bill. So there was also news that WWE will not be producing a video game for this coming release, or 2K anyway.
But they're still producing.
Yeah, they're making that type of more of arcadey style.
Yeah, in the battlegrounds, I think it's kind of in the same line of NBA. I think NBA Playground video game, more arcadey.
It looks like
it's more like that. It's more arcadey.
it looks like absolute shit. Is what it looks like.
Yeah, and hey, if that gets
Charlotte,
that gets the needle moving, then
Charlotte looks like she looks so short and like a pudgy in that whole thing.
Well, I think those are the characters. I think if you like the Playground series for the NBA, they're kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same, but let me tell you, it looks better and looks like it runs better than 2K20, which wasn't, or 2K19.
Yeah.
That doesn't run like 5 frames per second, and you can actually have a match.
And on 10,000 glitches either.
Yeah, I wish we can get away from 2K making these games. I mean, I know they make good basketball games, but for the wrestling games,
it's been rough.
Yeah, I swear, games like on the GameCube, like if you ever played Day of Reckoning, or even Here Comes the Pain on the PlayStation, look better then than wrestling games do now. If you look,
I mean,
they look worse.
Yeah, they were showing some of the graphics. I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like, who in hell was developing this here?
Like how you get it's 2000, it's the late 2000s with these games, and the graphics look like they're worse. Meanwhile, you look at the basketball games, and they look more realistic. And you can't
MLB the show looks incredibly realistic.
The basketball in 2K, the same company looks more realistic. Runs even the 2K game like on the Switch. I know it's more mobile than underpowered than the other ones, but it still runs good and looks realistic. And you can't do that on with the Switch with even the higher end consoles. Come on. I miss THQ.
Yeah. I'm just hoping when AEW eventually releases theirs, that they learn from those errors and just
don't go with 2K.
Well, I'm pretty sure that they have Bump Kenny in charge of that, who is a pretty big avid gamer. So like, it's in pretty good hands as far as
I like the women's division.
Let's not even go to that.
His wrestling game is going to be a Japanese RPG.
Yeah. So that about wraps up any news that there was, but I don't know if you guys had a chance to sort of scour Twitter over the last 24, 36 hours.
That's all we do.
There was what made a comeback was the Edge and Lita live sex celebration.
Oh boy!
Oh yes,
it seemed to be starting to get memed and gifted. So that was about the last. That was about the last edgy thing, no pun intended, that we've seen from WWE. And if you remember, if you recall that,
I was 16 when that happened. So yeah, I
Holy crap.
remember that very, very vividly there.
Do you guys think
Was
that
it that long ago? Holy crap.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but it was that long ago in 2006.
Phew.
do you think there will ever be another, not a live sex celebration, but I'm saying another type of era where they're able to go back to being able to push the envelope a little bit
No, I
Yes.
don't. Or at least if it does happen, it's not going to be anytime soon. Just with the whole TV guidelines, I feel like it would have to be on a special streaming service and
Nah,
not on
I don't
like
think that's
say
it.
like a network TV.
No.
I just can't see that
No,
happening.
no, because there's on USA there's a ton of stuff you go after them. People were swearing how they had Mr. Robot. I just came up in my head. There was a scene I remember when the guy like shoots himself like right in the office. They get network TV or basic cable whatever. You can get pretty you can get edgy. People they swear all the time. Um, Look at the Michael Jordan thing on
I mean, I'm
ESPN.
swearing and a like live sex celebration are two vastly different things.
And what you look at sitcom, look at Two and a Half Men. Every other 5 seconds there was something about sex. They're basically doing it.
Well, two, it was at a completely different time,
It's the same time.
uh,
It was the
what?
same time. Two and a Half Men.
No, like now, no, well, like now,
same stuff you
from
can get
then,
away with
yeah, like,
now. It's not
yeah,
what you can't get over.
right, exactly.
See, it almost makes no sense. It should even get worse as time goes on. Back in the day, you couldn't have the man and woman in the same bed. Now
Right.
it should be worse. Now people can get it. I think you could do it. I mean, it's not going to happen anytime soon, and it's not going to happen when McMahon's still in the company, running the company.
I think it's the juice that they need, though. And there could be a lot of different ways you can talk about juice whenever we're talking about live sex celebrations. So,
But
um,
in a way, it needs to. It has to. In a way, it has to make sense. You can't
right.
just do just to do it. I mean, sometimes recently they've done it. Um, right off the top of my head, the most.
Lana and Bobby Lashley and Rusev, that whole horse shit of a storyline there.
That was very overproduced.
Yeah.
Oh, that
let's
too. But
call
I
it
was
what
think.
it
I
is.
totally forgot about that. But I was thinking.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Random moment when Alexa Bliss was in the dressing room and an assistant and production assistant went in to grab her coffee and she had like no shirt on and she was just holding like her
Right.
top in front like there was a period then like last year, a year before when they were pushing edgy but it wasn't edgy they were throwing some stuff at the wall. And then at the same time, the Alexa Bliss thing almost didn't make any sense. But
Right.
like the Edge thing fit his character. And even the Katie Vick thing, and even McMahon made fun of it on SmackDown. And that was edgy. I mean, I don't think you're gonna see anybody in a coffin with a dead body, but things can be they can push it eventually. I just thought of Snitsky and the baby. I just thought about putting the baby.
Yeah.
But like I think that eventually they could probably do it, but down the line, it's possible. But the only thing standing in the way is the shareholders. You would just have would have to convince them like.
And that's the problem right there is like it's like they are so corporate that it's going to be hard to actually do that. So.
You would have to convince and say, hey, look, we're doing this. We're getting a little bit more edgy. I mean, you don't have to do attitude era edgy. You could do, ruthless aggression era in terms of that you could push. And you have to say, hey, we're going to do this. We'll get the ratings back up and we'll make more money if done right. And you kind of
I
do it,
agree. Yeah, and I
and
think
you have to either back up your claims with the numbers, but you can't. If they do that, if they flip the switch tomorrow and said, "Hey, we're gonna be more edgy," you can't just immediately do it. You kind of have to build to it
right.
because a slow build because you have people who are not watching right now who are down on the product, so you have to keep building it up slowly and let people talk about it like, oh, they're doing this, blah 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 blah, and then crescendo down the line,
Yes.
and to slowly show the stockholders like, hey, look, it's working, and then that they make money. As long as they make money, I think nobody gives a rat's ass.
Then before you know it, you have God as your tag team partner.
And you have got to. I don't care what anybody says. I liked it. I liked it.
That was a great.
That
That was a
was
great storyline.
Yeah. As much as makes no sense as impossible. Like if Jim Cornette was here, we'd be like, "What the fuck?" But I don't care. It was funny, and
It
I mean,
was.
they told. If you look back, that whole thing told a good story from McMahon and Triple H, McMahon and Shawn Michaels bringing back DX back in the mid 2000s. So it told a story. I mean, it is what it is. But I mean, is it likely? I don't know. But I'm not going to count it out
True. All
because
right. So
you never say never in this business.
yeah, before we wrap it up here, there is obviously some. We're starting to gain some traction as far as hopefully taking down this virus or getting it controlled, which means that a couple of months down the line, it still could be another quarter away, could be another 6 months, but WWE will begin again to have fans in the stands, and I think this would be a perfect time to reset a lot of storylines and characters and having fan interaction back to put over and to bury, who they choose to. So, just for Matt and John, who are your guys? Who do you think, both in the men and women, that will come out of this quarantine, this lockdown, as like a bat out of hell, that are going to come out on fire and really take the brass ring? John, who do you think?
So speaking. Speaking more on Dynamite side, one guy who I'm looking at is definitely Hangman Page, and as far as on the women's side, I've been really enjoying what Brett Baker has been doing too. So like those are two names I'm keeping a close eye on once we start to get things back to somewhat of normalcy.
Yeah,
How about you, Matt?
to go on the WWE side and the women's division, I'm looking at Liv Morgan and Lacey Evans. I mean, they've been building them up. I think they're both improved a lot. On the men's side, I think I'm a big fan of Angel Garza in that team with Andrade and Austin Theory and Selena Vega. I think he can be the star out of the three. I mean, he's got the charisma. I like his just this whole gimmick. I think Aleister Black for the men, possibly.
The McIntyre.
Oh, well, he's already
McIntyre.
there. I mean, I'm just going for up and coming. He was there before, all that stuff. But I totally agree. Maybe Apollo Crews because they've been doing more with him lately. And I'm going to say, I'm going to add Street Profits and Bianca Belair to that list.
Yeah.
More so Bianca, because Street Profits were over before, but she's really been doing good. And I know that these empty arena shows have been hard to watch, but at the same time, I think these were good shows for promos.
Right.
And a lot of people, in my opinion, at least to me, have been getting over or looking better in these empty arena shows, just because there's no fans there just to like mess with you or, you know,
Yep.
change what you're
Britt
saying.
Baker has really taken
Yeah.
advantage of
Um,
that. Yeah.
and I'll even add Sonya Deville. I'm just thinking of women because she cut that good promo on Mandy Rose the other day
Yeah.
on that, and I think that helped not having having anybody there per se, because it was just her, and she was able to do what she had to
Yeah,
do.
and that was the whole point of the exercise, because you guys were spot on, because there it is going to be unlike anything else whenever sports are allowed to take in fans again, and especially in an arena like WWE where it is entertainment first and then wrestling. Um, Everybody's going to be playing from an even playing field as far as the names that you just mentioned. They're not going to really get booed or cheered, or if they do, it's going to be very amplified. It's going to be one way or the other. I'll be very surprised if anybody gets a dead reaction whenever the crowd is allowed to be back in the arena, just because of everything that has gone on. People are going to want to scream and cheer and boo their favorite people or hate their favorite people, just because they can again, and that was taken away from us.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, you guys nailed it. And thank you, everyone, for watching today. I swear these shows go by super fast. Feels like 3 minutes when it's been about 32 minutes. You can, again, catch us next week on the Matt and John Make a Podcast channel, as well as watch their stuff, too. These guys are grinding really hard throughout this time, which is when it's very hard to do. And they're great people. They're also from the Pittsburgh area, and yeah, so just deal with it at that point if you have any issues with Pittsburgh. But so yeah, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you again next week.